Okay, so real quickly, I want to explain what was happening in the syringe investigation with Mr. Dietzen. If I can get this off. Okay, so the point of the experiment, obviously, is to prove that air has a certain mass and takes up a certain amount of space. So inside of the syringe, even though normally we would look and say, oh, there's nothing in here. But truly, there is a certain amount of air taking up a certain amount of space in there. Even if you just, kind of plug the end with your finger a little bit, it's still, even though it looks like there's nothing in there, that syringe is, the plunger of the syringe is obviously trying to push against something, okay? So what happens when we put the straw on, okay? The straw by itself does nothing. It just makes it maybe a tiny bit tougher because we're condensing and trying to force all of that air into one small space. But when we take the binder clip and we actually close off the exit for the air, and then we try to push the plunger down, okay? We're doing what we're compressing that air. Compressing means to squish down, right? If I had like a crumpled ball or piece of paper and I crumpled up into a ball and I compressed it or molded it down into a small shape, that would be the same thing that I'm doing to this air right here in my syringe. Because it's blocked off and it has nowhere to go, I'm compressing all of that air, taking the same amount and forcing it into a smaller space, okay? One of our questions was, is there a less amount of air, more air, or the same amount? And there's the same amount of air in here. I'm just pushing it into a smaller spot, okay? Which means that the pressure in here is built up, okay? It creates what we call air pressure. So when I begin to push this plunger down, squeezing all of this air into a smaller spot, I'm creating air pressure, okay? That means that the air that's actually located inside the syringe is beginning to push harder and harder on the outside edges of the syringe. Okay, so that's what's happening, and this is just a really good way to prove that air is something. We don't necessarily feel like it's heavy, but there is this certain amount of air that surrounds our globe, okay, called the atmosphere. And that's what we're gonna start talking about in our next set of notes.